But putting down the banana phone, I would like to do a short review today of a show that I watched. I like shows from the early 90s that are about paranormal phenomena. It doesn't necessarily need to be like supernatural ghost phenomena. It could be alien, extraterrestrial phenomena, which comes from elsewhere to us. And this one is from the early 90s. It's called Fact or Fiction: Alien Autopsy. This is like a standalone documentary, despite the fact that you hear fact or fiction in the title, because there was a show on during the time called Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction. You will, however, get even more confused because Jonathan Frakes, who hosts that show, is also going to host this. I guess he just says yes to everything. He's either out on the bridge of the Enterprise, exploring new civilizations, contacting new creatures, or he's on the Universal backlot somewhere, kind of walking around in front of the camera, doing his thing, what he does, and talking about an alien autopsy video he saw recently. That, I don't know, might be true. I mean, I gotta say, man, the fact that this is even up for debate is fucking absurd. This apparently, or purports to show an alien dissection that took place in 1947, right after the Roswell Incident. The point of this documentary, I guess, is to suss out and determine whether or not the footage you're about to see is actually an alien being pulled apart! We found this tape. It hasn't blown up yet. So if you guys want to check it out and be privy to the horror and the gruesomeness and the groundbreaking discoveries that are going to come from it, yeah, watch this documentary. It's hosted by Jonathan Frakes. They woke him up that morning. They were like, Jonathan, we have this documentary. You need $40? Yeah, you got any weed? Yeah, sure, I got some weed. I can give you that too. Get on down here. We'll smoke some before we do it. So it opens in the same way that all other Frakes documentaries open. It's him in a field with maybe like a telescope behind him set up somewhere, because he was looking at the sky, thinking about it. Then he walks forward a couple of yards towards the camera and tells us a little bit. He's like, this footage might be of an alien. The slug line for this documentary really should be, if it's real, it's proof. If it's not, it's amazingly good, because that's the conclusion everyone reaches. That's where we end up at the end of the hour. They're like, well, you know, if it's real, it's proof that aliens exist. It's undeniable. I mean, yeah, if it's real, of course it's undeniable. There's one right there being pulled apart. Of course, if it's just a dummy, then I guess it's interesting television? Well, it was fun to watch, if nothing else, right? Jonathan says, he goes, I'm going to warn you guys. This is a graphic tape. It's graphic. It's brutal. If you are disturbed by watching ventriloquist dummies being ripped apart, then viewer discretion. Oh, and also, like they always used to say, these are not the only views concerning this alien subject. The viewer is welcome to draw any conclusions they wish to draw based on all available information. Like, anybody's going to go to the library, check out a book on this. They're going to go talk to people about this. They're going to do research. They're like, I can't draw a conclusion just based on this television show, Alien Autopsy. I can use it as a source, but in my bibliography behind my opinion on this alien subject, I'm going to need to go do some serious study. Like, anyone's going to take the time to go find out anything else. Yeah, okay, sure. So, we need to learn, before we go any further into this disgusting video, what Roswell was. I mean, what really happened at Roswell? Well, no one knows for sure. I mean, if we're going by the newspapers at the time, the first version of the story was the crazy metallic spinning discs. They were seen flying around, and then one of them crashed. We talked to shit tons of people. I guess the whole state of New Mexico was there that night, and none of them actually claimed to have seen the crash, but they were all there afterwards when they saw the creatures. Two of them were dead, and the third one was real sad about it, and, I mean, it touched everyone that saw it. We go around and we talk to, oh my God, how many people? They bring on a journalist or an investigator right about here, and he says something to the effect of, the list keeps building. He's like, yeah, the witnesses, the list just every year, it gets higher and higher and higher somehow, which is weird considering we're moving further and further away from the past. But at this point, I have roughly 4 dozen people who handled parts of the ship or shook hands with the aliens or saw it from a distance or talked to someone about it. They do some interviews of some people who I guess have so little shame that they'll go on TV and lie. And these guys, they don't have a lot to say. This lying isn't even really all that creative. I would just say it's pathological. There's this one woman, I think her name is probably Beth Ann Whitaker, and she has a wig on. It's obviously a wig, and she feels naked without it. So she's got that on, she's got her pearls, she's got her big thick glasses. I used to live out in Roswell. I remember a ship crashing. I went and picked up the metal. My dad gave it to me, and I brought it home, and it was the strangest thing, because you could squeeze it, and it would feel like there was nothing in your hand, and then you'd open it, and there'd be something in your hand. I don't know of any kind of metal that can do that. That's groundbreaking technology, this metal that you can't feel or whatever. And again, everyone handled this, all sorts of different descriptions as to how it worked. This was an amazing ship. It could do everything, really. And apparently, though, for the fact that like 70 people jumped on it and ripped it apart like a mouse carcass, the government went and found all the pieces and confiscated them, except for this autopsy footage that got away from them. They forgot about that. Oh shit, we videotaped it. Where'd it go? Maybe we should go check with the cameraman, because apparently that's the dude who's had it for the last I don't know how many years. Back to the actual incident. You see, the only reason we even know strange things happened, except for Beth Ann's riveting testimony, is that there was a brief headline. It was in the New York Times. Above the fold, it said, "Flying discs smash and crash over Roswell, and it's all gone to shit." And that was really what went around. For the first 4 hours, that was all anybody knew who had time to buy a newspaper. There's also a radio broadcast that someone decided to record. They didn't just record every radio broadcast, so the fact that we have one being played for us just seems a little random, but yeah, okay. And they're like, we need to talk with someone who was directly involved. Enough of these, I grabbed it, it ain't there, I opened it, it is magic. We need someone who has credentials. How about we talk to the PR person? The PR person for the company that found this ship. This is the dude that ran to the local newspaper with an envelope full of this flying saucer information. And he tells us he went and did that by himself. No one went with him. He's like, no, it was that important. I had to go hand deliver it. No one vetted this. I ran over there. I handed it to him. They sent it out, and I was fired immediately. And they put out a new release about 4 hours later that said, no, it was a weather balloon. It was totally different. So I am, of course, the source you would want to go to for this story. I mean, I'm impartial, I'm not biased, and I have absolutely nothing to lose at this point. I'm sticking to my story. It was fucking spaceships. I don't want to talk to this PR person. I'm sorry. I'd like to talk to someone who's actually in the military. I am a PR colonel. I'm colonel of PR. I'm exercising my option as PR Commodore to release this information to the press and then be fired for it. We heard his side of the story, but we've already heard that anyway, so I guess we didn't learn anything new. And they show us some photographs of the dudes fucking with the weather balloon. I don't know, I wasn't there. How do I know if that looks or doesn't look like the ship? That doesn't look like what I was squeezing. If I squeezed that, it would feel like there was weather balloon in there, I feel. Roswell, they made it up or something. That's the official story anyway, that this was all just a hoax. Smoke and mirrors! It was just a weather balloon that crashed, and everybody who, felt that at the crash site when they saw the little creatures. I just love how they emphasize this. The living one is so sad that the other... How do they even know that? The living one, if we're going by the video, has black eyeballs, a weird bulbous head, a bizarre toothless mouth, 6 fingers. He looks so sad. He's never going home again, and I think he knows it, too. This is the one thing that everyone can agree on. If there's a commonality amongst any of these 3 billion stories from across the tri-state area, it would be this, that there was a lot of emotion and melodrama going on. That was all covered up. And by the way, I might as well tell you now because it's kind of randomly thrown in at the end, randomly in my opinion. But it might go better here. Today, some politicians are still hacking away at this. They're really trying to figure out what's going on. They're filing freedom of information requests. They're asking for documents that are in the public domain. And for some reason, the Department of the Interior is like, no, you can't come in. You can't go in the interior of this room. It's got documents in it concerning Roswell. You can't look. He's trying to get through the door, and they got their foot on it. They're keeping him from coming in. He wants the files, and he can't get them. And there's this House representative for New Mexico. He's obviously not in Congress anymore. He's just got nothing better to do, I suppose. This is what he was elected to do. He's like, I'm going to find out what's really going on behind all of this 70 years ago. Again, if this mattered, we just wouldn't have dicked around this long. No, this is still important, and I'm going to find out. So he's really pressing the issue. He goes to Bill Clinton, and he's like, you shady motherfucker, you tell me what happened at Roswell. And I'll give it to him. About a day or two after the interview they do, the New York Times releases something new. It's straight from the Pentagon, and it's like, everybody, the Roswell Incident that's always been talked of was not in fact a weather balloon after all. It was a different kind of balloon used to survey Soviet surveillance. Don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong! Janet Reno went to his house and knocked him over the head with a crowbar. So he backed off, I guess, and we don't know any more than we used to. But we do have this tape. By the way, the government didn't seem at all concerned about that. I mean, the government pretty much knows everything, right? They're surveilling us all the time. They did this alien thing. So it's just really interesting that they haven't come after us for the tape. They don't want it back. They don't want it back. And I guess it's just up for us to determine with the few clues that they give us if this is real or not. Let's go talk to the dude that it came from. The way that Frakes put it is wonderful. He's like, okay, so let's shift gears, go all the way around to the other end of planet Earth and see what's going on over there. His name is Santilli, and Santilli lives in Edinburgh. This guy looks like Dario Argento on amphetamines. He's like crept in front of his desk. He's all unshaven. He's got these big glasses on. He's like, this is a very strange film that I was given by a man that I contacted in the United States. We've been doing business for years. I was collecting different memorabilia of cinema. I understood him. He made these films himself. He's a filmmaker, like me. Yeah, that's right. This guy's a filmmaker. Just coincidence. That's his explanation for getting the film, and I think it's also the explanation for him making the film. He's like, I got it from this dude who, by the way, is totally anonymous. He's not telling. He's not going to tell us where it came from. We spend most of this documentary trying to suss out the actual origin of this tape, and he knows, and he's just not going to tell us. I got it from this dude, and he says that he wants to remain anonymous. I mean, he might come out of hiding at some point. I don't know. But I just feel like maybe he thinks of this as kind of scary. I mean, he's having a light shown on him. He was involved in something big, and maybe he's just a little trepidatious about talking to people he doesn't know. In fact, I think he might be a little defensive. He probably is watching this show right now. I mean, that's a real claim that he says. He's like, maybe he's watching it right now. Yeah, he saw it. He was like, wait a minute. That's my video. Damn it, Santilli. Well, at least he kept me anonymous. He's a straight shooter. Now, I will give it to Santilli that he is not being shrinking violet when it comes to this footage. And he's giving it to us. He's putting it out in the public sphere. Look at what I filmed and talk about it. And dissect it. And if you find out it's a fake, well, my name's in your head, so I guess I won, right? But, you know, now that we have the footage, we might as well take a look at it and see what it's about. And yeah, it's what we thought. It's an alien or something being ripped apart. It's a dummy. And we immediately dive into, well, is this really an alien? Or is it perhaps a deformed person? Later on, we explore the possibility that, hey, maybe it's just a dummy, huh? We explore that later, but first of all, we gotta tackle this in a, is it a human or an alien type argument? And I'm sorry, but when you're having that argument, you've lost. We go to a pathologist, and he's standing next to a television set, and he's pointing to it with a stick. I don't know why he has to do this. He's like, yeah, it's really cool. If you see here, here, and here, this is the scalpel. This is a tray, which is very dated to the time. They don't make trays like this anymore. Oh, we moved past it. See that phone? That's an old-looking phone. It's a rotary phone. It's got the... Oh, we moved past it. Let's see, and it's very hard to tell what's going on this tape. And we look a little closer. This thing has 6 fingers and 6 toes. Polydictomy. And it's also got an enlarged brain cavity, as well as ears that are located below the jawline. And it also doesn't seem to have irises or pupils or anything going on in its eye sockets. And it doesn't have teeth. And it's also shaped weird, like a chicken. It's got bow legs, and as well as a weird-looking wound on its leg, which is important, I guess. If that's a person, that's brutal. It can't be a person, though. Look, we're opening it up, and he's opening it up, and we look inside, and we see, I don't know. Obviously, it's not human organs because it's not a person. And this is the shit he's saying. I can't believe this. He's like, I will not say that that's human. I won't say it. I won't say it either, dude. It's a dummy. God damn. I want to go up and smack this guy because it says PhD next to his name. And just fuck that. Fuck that. I'm sorry. I want to drag him in front of his university and be like, hey, can you take his degree away from him? Because he's analyzing a dummy. You look like a fool. I want to say that to him. You're dissecting a dummy. You're a fool. And we go to talk to another mortician, another pathologist, just to get a second opinion, something more than I won't say that's human, because that's not saying it's alien. So we go to this other dude. We're like, is it human? Is it alien? What do you think from watching the tape? Yeah, so besides anything I'm seeing, it's kind of weird that the tape is only 2 hours long. I don't know. Just seems to me like an actual autopsy might take a little longer. Why did they pull it apart so fast? This would take days, weeks, months? This is an alien. Why did you do it in just 2 hours? Why did they have to rip it apart that quick? But yeah, so that's just the only thing that seems odd to me. That is odd. And it's also not disprovable. Well, he's a boring pathologist. Let's go talk to the dude that screams. Well, I'm sorry, but this is not human, and it might be an alien. And if it is, it's proof of extraterrestrial life beyond our terrestrial. And if it's not, then it's gross. Since we're talking about the anatomy of this creature and all of its various inhuman organs that don't... We are blurring something out in the autopsy. We don't blur out much of anything. I gotta say, if this were real, it would be brutal for PBS. But we are blurring out one thing. It's this little hovering ball of, like, pixelation that will jump in over the creature's... It's an alien! It's not of this world! What are they blurring out? It's blurring out its vagina. Between its legs, like right around here. I don't get that. They're like, yeah, it's real, it's not from this planet. We don't recognize any of these organs, but we do recognize those. And those are naughty bits, or they at least look like it, so we gotta blur it out. This is having your cake and eating it too. It's one or the other, man. It's either an alien and it's all cool, or it's a dummy that you gave a vagina, which is perverted and weird. Jonathan's guy's cheeks are all pink. Woohoo, it's got a vagina. By the way, the people doing the dissection do not touch it. They don't do any surgical exploration on the sexual organs, if that's what they are. And if it is real, then it's not human, and if it's fake, then it's a dummy. Again, that's all we've concluded. And you know, before we look into the quality of the tape and whether or not it was staged or if it is really handheld footage, let's go talk to this guy that's a part of an ongoing narrative that's kind of happening in the background. His name is William Deere. He's a straight shooter. He's a private investigator, and he looks like the singing king of beepers. So slick that you could slip and slide down his shirt. And he's like, we are gonna find everything on this guy. We're gonna find his friends, we're gonna find his house, and we're gonna find all of his sexual partners. And okay, now this is weird. He suddenly kind of gets lost in a metaphor right about here. So try to stay with me. I couldn't stay with him. We're going to take all of that information. We're going to take his economic background, his social background, his sexual background, and his spiritual background, and all of these other numbers that we've collected from here and there, and I'm going to put it into a coconut. You see where I'm going with this? You put it into the coconut, you slip like that, and then you put it on the edge of the desk, and you don't touch it. You look at it, you leave it there for a couple of days, and then you put the straw in, and then you hand it up to Lady Liberty, but she's got shit on her face, she can't see, she drinks it, and there you go, we got our answer. Wait, what? He's like, yeah, I mean, when we do it that way, it all makes sense. Just show my whole team on the whiteboard if you want to film me talking to the whole team. And by the way, the whole team looks like the cast of News Radio. And there's like 12 of them, too. What is this? Why are there 12 people here? I mean, most private investigators, I'll be honest with you, are a team of one, or maybe two people. But this guy's got 12 people working the case, and if you're going to have 12 people putting info in the coconut, I want to see some Mai Tai in there at the end, or I want there to be some sort of payoff. And by the way, one's not coming, so don't hold your breath. If only Santilli would just come in here and tell me who it is, but he's not going to do that. So, we'll leave Bill to his business. He's got work to do. Let's go talk, say, to, I don't know, maybe a film critic about the footage, and we'll have him analyze it. Yes, well, it's just kind of strange, if you ask me, that the camera starts to blur and go out of focus whenever we get too close to the alien. Whenever we need to see certain things, we suddenly can't seem to get focused correctly. Oh, and also, by the way, whenever we're doing important surgical things, why is it that the cameraman can't get a better shot? Why doesn't he just cut to the other side of the room? This film critic's analysis is non sequitur because it's not a question of is it a good alien autopsy video, which is kind of what he's doing. He's like, it's not filmed well, it's not in focus right, blah, blah. Well, who's even asking that question? Who's even having that argument? We're having a lot of stupid arguments, but that's not one of them. So why are we talking to this guy? What value is there in that? It just makes him look like a dick who can be easily rebutted. Because we go and we find this dude who was an embedded wartime photographer, and he's got a cap on, like a military cap, some old dude, as if he fought in the war or something, as if he was in the military. That's how he's acting. God damn it! Plenty of fine men died on camera fighting for this country, and I don't like you making fun of it! It was a different time. Cameras were all janky. They were created funny, and it was hard to focus them because you had to do it hand, so it was manual, so maybe you didn't always get the focus. And, you know, there was lots of stuff going on, and the camera was, like, again, heavy, so maybe you didn't get the best shot all the time. God. And I would have said the same thing. I'd be like, yeah, the guy had a weird, shitty camera. He probably had to change the film, like, every 5 minutes. And you had to adjust the focus, you know, manually as you moved around. And there were people jumping around doing shit. Again, they ripped this thing apart real haphazard, real quick. So yeah, okay, sure, I get that. But it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove that it's real or that it's false, that he rebutted this kind of shitty film critic who should not have been brought in. I don't know what his opinion was good for. Rebutting, I guess. And this guy is good enough to do it. This wartime photographer who's still suffering PTSD. He's seen so much bad TV. Yeah, it's really hard, you know, being in the trenches. Taking pictures. We haven't learned anything. Why don't we take it to Eastman Studios? We'll take her to the Eastman house. Or Phil Eastman's house. I don't know. We'll take it somewhere. We'll talk to some people who conserve film, who study it. So the guy's looking through it. He's like, yes, this is a beautiful piece of film. He's some sort of Italian or French guy. As you can see, Eastman uses a series of stamps. Different shapes and triangles and circles and squares, and they put it along the side, and it's like a timestamp, so it tells you what year it was made. And this could have either been made in 1927, 37, 47, 67, or 57. Wow, look at all those years it could have been made. 47 was one of them. Again, proves nothing conclusively. Like, yeah, okay, it might have been made in 47, but we already thought that. So the one thing that actually had any sort of empirical data, any evidence of any kind that you could tangibly hold, is also useless, or it doesn't help much. We've learned nothing. As examining the content, as far as it being a person, perhaps, with a number of different deformations and physical maladies, or an extraterrestrial, we haven't come up with any conclusions. We looked at, you know, how it was shot, and the only conclusion we came to is that Santilli is not a particularly good filmmaker. But he doesn't need to be for this. And we looked at the film stock itself, and we learned that it might have been made that year, or maybe some other years too. Again, we've come to no conclusions. Let's go revisit Bill. Let's see what Bill's up to. Is he come any closer to solving the puzzle. And Bill is sitting at his desk, staring at the invisible coconut, waiting for the answer to come. And it's not coming, I guess. And then suddenly the phone rings! Someone's got me on the horn! Hello? We've got a tip! It's coming to us from Arcadia, Florida! Let's go! And he buys a ticket and he's in his car. And someone's riding next to him in like another car, filming him in his car. Okay, that was unnecessary. But yeah, apparently he just hopped out his window, fell into the front seat of his car, and drove to the airport. And he's on his way! He's got to get to Florida because there's someone down there that's got something to say about this. How did he find this person? Oh, no, wait, that's right. I think it's his best friend. He gets down there, and the dude that he meets does not want to talk to anyone. He values his privacy. He's trepidatious about it. He's a little standoffish. He's like, I haven't talked to anyone about this in a very long time. Maybe ever. And Santilli, I mean, he didn't betray me, did he? He's in Denny's, and he won't let anyone but Bill come in and talk to him. So we're looking at him from, like, outside the window, and I guess Bill might be wearing a wire. We're getting good sound, and it's too bad, because the guy isn't saying anything. He says nothing. I was watching you on TV, Bill, and I decided to give you a call and talk about Roswell. Hello? That's it. That's all it is. It's nothing. I cannot explain how that got signed off on. Why they would take us to Florida to talk to someone who has no information and then just end it right there. We're like, okay, well, that was a dead end. Hello! Hey, it's me! I have a tip for you! I think it's Santilli! But too late. He's out of Bill's jurisdiction. He's over in England. It costs too much to get a ticket to go do that. Oh, and you know what? I might as well tell you right now. That's the last time we see Bill. He does not figure it out. This crazy investigator from the Windy City that he is doesn't figure out anything. He doesn't even come back at the end to tell us that he didn't find him. What a craven coward. What a shitty investigator. This guy couldn't figure out who this one dude was. And he had a total hit, too. Santilli, who knows the name, but he didn't look into it. So Bill didn't help us. And Bill's name, William Deere, is in our head. So again, I guess he won. So we decide, okay, why don't we ask the most sane question? Is this a dummy? Is it a dummy? Just asking that question is at least putting our foot into the realm of reality. And we go to the guy that did the effects for Jurassic Park. And at the time, that was the biggest special effects extravaganza ever. Well, I don't know, maybe not ever, but at least at the time. I trust this guy's opinion, man. He did the T-Rex thing, picking up the Jeep and throwing it around. That's brutal. So he is sitting in the video village. He's watching the tape, and he's got Motley Crue behind him, or his crew, and they're Motley. One of them, I kid you not, has like leopard skin tights on, and another one's got like a pink bandana on, and one of them's got lipstick. And they're all striking poses, too. They all got this thing going on. It looks like Tom Stanton and the Revolution, and they're watching, and they're like, I don't understand how they did that. You know what? I gotta say, considering these guys are amazing at spirit gums and different rubbers and plastics and makeup, and consider, I mean, they're really good at makeup, obviously. They look like gorgeous chicks. For all of that, their critiques, their insight is just, how did they do it? Or that's amazing that they did that. You could build a dummy alien that you could rip apart. It would take forever. We could do it, but it wouldn't be worth it. It wouldn't be worth it. It wouldn't be worth it. Santilli's time is the most empty, worthless time on planet Earth, or any other planet that we may ever visit, or that might visit us. I guarantee you. It's totally worth it. So, yeah, he probably spent years putting together this alien dummy that he ripped apart. And they're telling us why it's amazing. They're like, you see the blood and the ooze and the other fluids, that they're all evenly distributed? And, they have nothing to say. Just at the end, again, Tom's analysis is, well, you know, if it's real, I feel bad for the little guy getting all pulled apart like that. But if it's fake, well, it's really fun to watch. I'd watch it. And I just did. God damn it, Santilli! And we go back to Jonathan Frakes, and he's wandering through a field again on the Universal backlot. He's like, I don't know where I am, and I don't know what to make of this alien autopsy video. It's hard to watch. That's all I know. And I hope you guys all enjoyed and learned something about aliens, maybe, or about Roswell, perhaps. You might be hearing something more about Roswell any day. You never know. This person that's out there. And that's it. You know, I would rather watch, honestly, a documentary about people who get shit shoved up their ass from other worlds. I would rather watch a show about that than this. This was a waste of time. The alien autopsy video is interesting if you want to just watch it by itself. 2-hour video. You'd probably find it on YouTube somewhere. Again, that was about 20 years ago, and so far the sky hasn't fallen, so may not be real. I gotta figure out what happened to Santilli. I want to know if he's still alive. I have the feeling that he screwed over the wrong person and he woke up in a box underground somewhere, and that was the end of him. Alien autopsy. Is it fact, or is it fiction? Or is it just stupid?